Gary Coleman's personal life is interesting. So he was adopted.
Oh, yeah. But he didn't know this till he was 21.
Really?
Yeah, he did not know he was adopted.
He thought those were his biological parents?
Yes, he did not know until he was 21 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when he was born, he had a whole bunch of medical complications.
Yeah.
Kidney defects.
Yep.
And, because of all the medications and everything else like that, it stunted his growth.
And he also was never around kids.
Huh.
That's why his vocabulary was huge. He was only around adults.
Right.
Because being around kids was dangerous for him. So he was only around kids, only around adults. And that's why when you saw Gary talk and walk and talk, he was like a grown little man. He was a little kid or like a grown man.
Well, I mean, because of the condition that he went through along with the medications, he could only grow to 4'8".
Yep.
So he basically stayed small his entire life. And he wasn't like a little person or, he didn't have dwarfism or what people thought. He was just because of the kidney situation.
He was a real little person.
Yeah.
That's what he was, yeah.
Right, because he had a kidney transplant at age 5.
Yep.
Well, no, two kidney transplants at 5, and then another one at 17.
Well, he had more than that. I thought he had a total of 3 because he had one at 13 because I remember being on the set.
Okay.
Or did he have it before that? It was like I think it was 9 or 10 because he was on the show and they brought him back to work way too fast. They brought him back to work a week later after his kidney transplant, and his kidney reacted. I remember because I was 13 years old and I was crying because they had him there working, which he shouldn't have been working.
Yeah.
But those at that time, they only cared about making money. Everyone did. That's what they cared about. So, had that happened to me, my mother would have never had me there. There's no way.
Well, because he had to have dialysis his whole life, right?
Yeah.
So was he doing that on set, having dialysis?
Yeah, but at one point it was once a week he'd do it on the set. But then I think later on in his life became every other day. He had to do it.
Okay. Well, even with all these problems, the show started to take off.
Yeah.
And people really took to it. The catchphrase, what you talking about, Willis?
That was created by a typo. Because back then we only had typewriters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was no something to correct your word spelling or something like that. So they wrote, it was written in the script. I remember saying it was written, Whatcha, Bout, Willis. And Gary Coleman said it so fast that it became the catchphrase. And if you notice, the first 5 years were always directed to me. It was directed to Willis because Willis was the one that always kept messing up. So it was directed right at Willis, always. And then they started going to everybody else.
I mean, everyone knew that catchphrase.
Yeah.
I mean, even you listen to Biggie's first album.
Of course.
Your style's played out like Arnold, wondered what you're talking about, Willis.
Oh, yeah. It's probably it's probably a catchphrase. It's a catchphrase today that's still huge that some kids don't even know where it came from.
Yeah.
They'll say it and have no idea that because I remember my friend's kid was saying, and she was like, do you know where that's from? And he's like, yeah, I heard him in the show. And she's like, no, it's not where it's from. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. He's like, no, it's from a TV show I used to watch. She had to make him understand where it was from because they really think it's from something else.
I mean, you had been on other shows, but now you're actually co-starring in a major sitcom.
Yeah.
What was it like? I mean, because you're how old at the time? You're 13?
Yeah.
At 13 years old, suddenly you're a national phenomenon.
Yeah.
How did a 13-year-old adapt to that?
Well, the thing about it was, the thing that was different for me than a lot of other kids that may have been, they didn't want me doing a lot of stuff becoming bigger than Gary Coleman. They didn't want that happening. Mm-hmm. Because I was at the teenage stage, I could have became huge in films with like John Hughes films. I was like up for one of those. I should have got Breakfast Club, but yeah, they told me they didn't know how to write for black people.
Well, there were no black people in Breakfast Club.
Of course not. But that was one of the roles I was going for, was the jock.
Okay.
But they told me they don't know how to write for black people.
That was played by Emilio Estevez?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Come on. How many times do you see just a white kid as a jock and it's not a black kid as a jock?
Right.
Come on. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Even in that day, in the 80s, it was always black people just the jocks.
Yeah, I feel you.
You know, but when they said they didn't know how to write for black people, I just walked out because I couldn't believe the guy even had the audacity. And it wasn't John Hughes. John Hughes was a great guy. I met John Hughes on the plane. It was his partner. John Hughes is the one that told me to come in. He told me that's the part he wanted me to play. And when I got in there, the guy said, I don't know how to write for black people. He was the first. I'll tell you what. This is what he did. I was in there. He went, "We don't know how to write for black people." And I was like, this is what I said. The same way you write for white people. And I walked out.
And you didn't get the role.
No, of course not. Not saying that, but I'm like, what do you mean you don't know how to write? So was he scared? I'll be, but we, come on, man. We all talk the same. You know what I mean? He's like, give me a break. You know?